Hey, good morning. It's Mark. I read a story about the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. It's basically New York City, having announced the indictment of, I think it was 5 physicians and some pharmacists in connection with in essence, the distribution of millions, many millions of oxycodone pills, not in connection with any valid medical treatment, but as drug pushers. One of the physicians, as I recall, was alleged to have, in essence, illegally prescribed over 6 million oxycodone pills. He's said to have received $5 million in cash payments in remuneration for just writing the prescriptions. And other physicians were said to have prescribed, fewer, but still together many millions of these pills. So on the one hand, certainly we got a problem here. We have a problem with physicians who are really drug pushers. In some of these cases, the U.S. Attorney says that witnesses will report that there were lines out the office and down the block with basically street people buying the drugs through prescriptions and then reselling them on the street. Others who were indicted were pharmacists who were clearly accepting bogus prescriptions and in some cases said things to clearly indicate that they knew these prescriptions were fake. So that's an obvious problem. But at the same time, there's another problem. The other problem is that the epidemic, the opioid epidemic, is having a chilling effect on those physicians who are legitimately prescribing these opioids that are under the magnifying glass. So what's the impact on patients and on legitimate practice of the crackdown on overprescribing, and what's the line between proper prescribing and overprescribing? Now, certainly prescribing to anyone who walks in the door in exchange for a few $100, hundreds of pills for no valid medical reason, I don't think there's going to be much argument, although I would expect that these guys are going to mount some fantastic legal defense. Not much argument that this is criminal activity. But what about you and your practice? Look, we all want to make more money. We all want more control over our time and our lives. And there are many legitimate ways to accomplish that in connection with your business, in connection with medical practice. The issue, though, is staying on the right side of the line and in structuring relationships, whether it has to do with simply the compliance aspects of prescribing, whether it has to do with the ownership of interests in pharmacies, whether in states that permit it has to do with the physician dispensing of drugs, say in connection with workers' comp in California. There are ways, again, to structure these things properly, but there are many who would be happy to have you structure them improperly. If you're going to be engaging in an expansion of your practice beyond what really is still traditional medical practice, think multiple times about it, vet your ideas, let's talk, and make sure you look very clearly before you leap.